Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Trinadapi Sunichena Tarad Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya 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 Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopinath Madana Mohan Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. All blessings on all of you for attending. Today's sponsor is Kakani family. We wish them all auspiciousness and blessings during this month of Kartik. We very much appreciate their sponsoring. Tonight, we're going to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the way Shukadeva Goswami explains the picture behind me, Damodara-leela, one of the most special pastimes of all. This pastime is so unique and wonderful, and Shukadeva Goswami will point out many high topics of spiritual conclusion. Of course, Shukadeva is speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. It's in the 10th canto. So we begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 9 of the 10th canto is entitled Mother Yashoda Binds Lord Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami continued to speak to Maharaj Parikshit. One day, when Mother Yashoda saw that all the maidservants were engaged in other household affairs, Yashoda personally began to churn the yogurt. And while churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna. And in her own way, Yashoda composed songs and enjoyed singing to herself about all those activities. So it is pointed out in the purport that this pastime of Damodara-leela took place on Diwali Day 5,000 years ago in India. And why was Yashoda churning the yogurt? Because in the previous chapter, Krishna and Balaram were doing many naughty activities, disturbing the neighbors. And the neighbors came to Yashoda and complained. But they complained because it was an excuse to see beautiful Krishna. So Yashoda was thinking, why my son is going to others' houses to steal butter and yogurt? Perhaps he doesn't like what he's getting at home. So on this day, Diwali Day, Yashoda was churning the butter, the yogurt, and it is explained that Yashoda had special cows that were fed very special grass. And with that grass, the cows would give the milk a very distinct special flavor. So Yashoda wanted to make butter and yogurt on this day just for Krishna. Dressed in a saffron yellow sari, with a belt tied about her full hips, Yashoda pulled on the churning rope, laboring considerably, her bangles and earrings moving and vibrating, while her whole body was shaking. Because of her intense love for her child, her breasts were wet with milk. Her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and malati flowers were falling from her hair. And while Mother Yashoda was churning butter, Lord Krishna, desiring to drink the milk of her breast, appeared before her. And in order to increase her transcendental pleasure, Krishna caught hold of the churning rod and began to prevent her from churning. Mother Yashoda then embraced Krishna, allowing him to sit down on her lap. And she began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. And because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast. But suddenly, she saw that the milk pan on the oven was boiling over. So she immediately had to leave her son in order to take care of the overflowing milk. Although Krishna was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast, Krishna became very angry, and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, Krishna, with false tears in his eyes, broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. Then Krishna entered a different room and began to eat the freshly churned butter in a solitary place. Mother Yashoda after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot. And when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was nothing but the work of Krishna. And at that time, Krishna was sitting on an upside-down wooden mortar for grinding spices, and he was distributing milk preparations, such as yogurt and butter, to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, Krishna was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Upon seeing Krishna, Yashoda very cautiously approached him from behind. And when Lord Sri Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee as if very much afraid. So the question is, how was Yashoda able to find Krishna? Well, that was not difficult, because after breaking the pot of yogurt, Krishna must have stepped in it. And so all she had to do was trace the butter-smeared footprints of Krishna. Now, Shukadeva Goswami gives his first purport. This is Shukadev's purport. Although yogis try to capture Krishna as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord by performing great austerities and penances, they somehow fail to reach Krishna. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead, Krishna, only to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him. So, what is important here is the action of Yoga Maya. Yashoda is in illusion. What kind of illusion? The illusion of Yashoda is that she is completely unaware that Krishna is God. All Yashoda knows is that Krishna is her son. So this is the action of Yoga Maya. What is Yoga Maya? Yoga Maya is the spiritual energy of Krishna that partially reveals and partially hides Krishna's identity. Mahamaya is the material illusion in which Krishna is completely undiscoverable. You cannot discover Krishna by means of the material energy. It is only by Yogamaya, the spiritual potency, which is why we chant Hare Krishna. Notice we first say Hare, the spiritual potency, Mother Hara. Or we say Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan. First we approach the goddess of fortune, then we approach Krishna himself. So Yashoda is deep within Yoga Maya, completely unaware that Krishna is God. After all, when Yashoda gave birth to a daughter, she fell asleep. But when she woke up, by that time, Vasudeva had switched the babies, and Yashoda did not remember whether she had given birth to a girl or a boy. And when she woke up, she saw this beautiful blackish boy, Krishna. So all she knows, this is my son. Now Shukadeva Goswami continues to narrate this Damodara-leela. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by heavy breast, she naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose, and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna. And when caught by Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. And as she looked upon Krishna, she saw that he was crying, Krishna's tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes. And as he rubbed his eyes with his lotus hands, he smeared the kajal ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him. Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed by intense love for Krishna. She did not know who Krishna was or how powerful he was, but because of maternal affection for Krishna, she never even cared to know who Krishna was. Now, we should also understand that Krishna is also under Yogamaya. He is forgetting, in a sense, that he is God and wants to imitate the ordinary naughty activities of a human child. So Krishna is also under Yogamaya. Look what he's doing. He's crying. He's shaking. He's afraid of Yashoda's stick. But in the Bhagavatam, first canto, it says, fear personified is afraid of Krishna's name. But the same Krishna is afraid of his mother. The only explanation, Yogamaya. Krishna wants to forget, I'm tired of being God. I want to play like an ordinary human being. That's Krishna-leela. He wants to play. He wants to have fun. But he wants to do that with his pure, unalloyed devotees. Shukadev continues, therefore, when Yashoda saw that her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and then desired to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities. At this point, Shukadev interjects another purport. Shukadev now tells Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has no beginning and no end, no exterior and no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, Krishna is Ananta, unlimited. Krishna is Vishnu, all-pervading. Because Krishna is not under the influence of the element of time, for him, there is no difference between past, present, and future. Krishna exists in his own transcendental form at all times. Being absolute, beyond relativity, Krishna is free from distinctions between cause and effect, although he is actually the cause and effect of everything. And so, that unmanifest person, who is adhoksaja, beyond the perception of the material senses, had now appeared as a human child, and Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope. But when Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance the width of 2 fingers. Thus she brought another rope to add. But this rope also was short by a measurement of 2 fingers. And then when another rope was joined, it was still 2 fingers too short. as many ropes as Yashoda joined, all of them failed to bind Krishna. Their shortness could not be overcome. Thus, Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household. But still, she failed in her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the neighborhood, were smiling, and they were also enjoying the fun. And similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder. And because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration, and the flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When child Krishna saw his mother was now fatigued, Krishna became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. So here is a very important point. In the Damodara-leela prayer that we sing twice a day during this month, there is this very important phrase, Bhakti Badham, that Krishna can only be tied up by the ropes of affection. The word guna can have different meanings. One meaning of the word guna, qualities. Krishna is sometimes called nirguna because he has no material qualities, but at the same time, he has unlimited transcendental qualities. Another meaning of the word guna is rope, and Yashoda is trying to tie up Krishna with rope. But Krishna cannot be tied up by any rope. It's not possible. Krishna cannot be tied up by any guna or material quality, whether it be ignorance, passion, or goodness. Nothing affects Krishna. That's another meaning of nirguna. Nothing material can affect him. And then another meaning of guna. So we have quality, rope, modes, but Krishna cannot be tied up by any guna. Krishna can only be tied up by bhakti. And so in this incident, when Yashoda had become flabbergasted and had completely become frustrated in her attempts, Krishna allowed himself to be tied up. Krishna is always in control, but he sometimes allows himself to be bound up by his devotee. Shukadeva Goswami continues, O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods, like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. So this is a very wonderful feature of Krishna. He enjoys coming under the control of his devotees. Prabhupada gives a nice explanation. All of you have had children and grandchildren, and you enjoy playing with your grandchildren, especially when they're very, very young. And in playing with your grandchildren, you might let them tie you up or walk over you, or you enjoy it. So in the same way, Krishna, the Supreme, is enjoying being tied up by Mother Yashoda. He's enjoying it. As it says here, Shukadev says, Krishna comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. Neither Lord Brahma, nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord. Now, look at what Shukadev just said. Lakshmi is always the better half of the Supreme Lord. Neither of them can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer of this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda. So this means Mother Yashoda is in a very unique position in terms of intimacy with Krishna. We hear so many times, Lord Shiva, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. He's the greatest Vaishnava. And Goddess Lakshmi is always on the chest of the Lord Sri Vatsa. But what is Shukadev saying? No, none of these can obtain this mercy that Yashoda got, that she gets to tie him up. Such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service. That's another big point. There are two kinds of loving service, regulative and spontaneous. If one cannot reach that spontaneous platform, then the highest liberation one can achieve is residence in Vaikuntha, where one relates to the Lord as the supreme King of Kings in the majestic awe and reverence platform. But if you want to relate to Krishna, as it is here in Vrindavan, intimately, you have to reach the spontaneous platform. So the question then is, how does one reach that spontaneous platform? And the answer is, you reach it by strictly following the rules and regulations of regulated bhakti, and gradually, naturally, you reach the spontaneous platform. You cannot jump. You can only do it by strictly following sadhana, vaidhi bhakti, and gradually, naturally, you achieve that spontaneous platform. So Krishna is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service. But Krishna is not as easily acceptable to mental speculators or to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. While Mother Yashoda was very busy with the household affairs, the Supreme Lord Krishna observed twin trees known as Yamala Arjuna, which in a former millennium had been the demigod sons of Kubera in their previous birth. These two sons, known as Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were extremely opulent and fortunate. But because of pride and false prestige, they did not care for anyone, and thus Narada Muni cursed them to become trees. And as it went, I'm not going to narrate that, but I will give you a gist of that next chapter. So Krishna, after Yashoda tied him up, Krishna was thinking, my mother thinks that now I will not do any more mischief. No, I'm going to do even more mischief now. So Krishna looked out into the courtyard. He's tied up to the ulukala, wooden grinding mortar. And he sees the two trees in the courtyard. And Krishna, knowing everything because he's God, he understands, oh, I know those two trees. Within those two trees are the two sons, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, of my devotee Kuvera. And my devotee Narada wants me to deliver them. Krishna also thought, I have nothing to do with those two sons of Kuvera, but because Narada wants me to deliver them, then I will deliver them. Again, another example of how Krishna likes to satisfy the desires of his pure devotee. So because Narada desired their liberation, Krishna agreed to deliver them. So Krishna started to drag the wooden grinding mortar, and it stuck between the two trees, and Krishna effortlessly, with great power, knocked down the two trees, and out of the trees came the two demigod sons of Kuvera. They had been like that for many, many, many years. And Narada had cursed them because they failed to recognize Narada when he passed by. They were enjoying in the heavenly planets with some damsels, and they were naked and they were intoxicated. The girls, as soon as they saw Narada, they immediately dressed themselves. But these two sons, they were so intoxicated, they stood there naked in front of Narada, showing no shame because they were so intoxicated. So Narada was thinking, I can't allow these two sons of Kuvera to act in such a degraded way. I must rectify them. I must do something. So Narada was thinking, oh, they like to be naked? Trees are naked. Let them stand naked for hundreds of years as trees. So that was the curse. But a devotee like Narada doesn't thus curse. He also benedicts. So what was the benediction? Yes, they will stand as trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, and Krishna will deliver them. So immediately Nalakuvara and Manigriva became trees in the courtyard of Nanda. And when Krishna delivered them, all while they were standing in the trees, they were thinking about their nonsense. And they was thinking about how Narada was actually merciful to them. So all the while meditating in this way, when Krishna delivered them, by this time, they had become pure devotees. So they came out of the trees in their demigod forms, and they offered beautiful prayers to Krishna. And Krishna told them, yes, it is your great fortune that you had met Narada. And whenever I remember this pastime, in my own case, I immediately remember Srila Prabhupada. Because it was only by Prabhupada's mercy that I am who I am today. If Prabhupada had not come to America and preached, I would never have come to this stage on my own. So just like Narada delivered Nalakuvara and Manigriva, Prabhupada delivered me and thousands of others. So Krishna told the two sons, it is your good fortune that you have been able to come face to face with Narada, who is just like the shining sun. And Krishna also told Nalakuvara and Manigriva, now their lives were perfect. So I'm going to sing now the Damodara-leela prayers. And after the Damodara-leela prayers, Kakaniji requested that we do Gopi Gita. So We will close the program with the narration of the Gopi Gita from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But first, let us sing this Damodara-leela prayers and be blissful in Krishna consciousness. Namamishwaram Sachid Ananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Biolukalad Davamanam Pararam Stamatyantato Drutya Gopya Rutantang Mahur Netra Yugmam Rijantang Karamboja Yugmena Satanka Netram Muhushvasa Kampa Trirekanka Kanta Stita Grivam Damodarang Bhakti Badham Didrikswalila Bir Ananda Kunde Swagoshangi Majantam Akyapayantam Dadi Dageshu Bhaktair Jitatvang Punak Prematastang Shatavriti Bande Varandeva Mokshamna Moksha Vadhingva Nachanyang Vrinehang Vareshada Iha Idang Teva Purnata Gopala Balang Sadame Manas Yavi Rastam Kimanyai Idang Te Mukam Bojam Adyanta Nilaya Ritang Kuntalai Snigda Raktaishcha Gopya Muhushchumbitam Bimba Raktadarang Me Manasya Virastam Alam Laksha Labhai Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabodhuka Chalabdi Magnam Kripa Dristi Vrishtyati Dinang Vatanu Priyanesha Mamagyam Edyakshi Drishyaha Kuveratma Jo Baddha Murti Aiva Yadvat Twayamoti Tao Bhakti Bhajau Kritau Cha Katta Prema Bhakting Swakang Me Prayachcha Namokshe Grahomesti Damodara-leela Namaste Stu Damne Spuradipti Damne Tvadiyo Darayata Vishvasya Damne Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai Namo Nanta Leelaya Devaya Tubhyam Namami Shradang Sachid Ananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Biolukalad Davamanam Paramrishtam Adyantato Drutya Gopya Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radhe 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 So now we will chant the chapter from Srimad Bhagavatam known as Gopi Gita. Jayati te dikang janmana vraja srayata indira shashvad atrahi dayati drishyatang dikshutavakas tvaidritasavas twang vichinvate sharad udashaye sadhu jata sat sarasi jodara sri mushadrisha suratanapate shulkadasika varada nignato nehaking vadha vishajalapyayad vyala rakshasad varshamarutad vaijutanalat vrishamayatmajad vishvato bayad rishapate vayang rakshita muhu nalakul kopika nandano bhavan akila dehinam antarat madrik vikanasarthito vishvaguptaye saka ude ivan satvatam kule viratatabayang vrishni duryate charanam iyushang sangsriter bayat karasaro ruhang kanta kamadang shirasidehina srikara graham vrajati janati hanviryositang nijajanasmaya dvangsanasmita bhajasake bhavat kinkarismano jalaruhananang charudarshaya pranata dehinang papakarshanang trinachananugam sriniketanam Fani fanarpitang te padambujang krinukuche shuna krindirich chayam maduragira valguvakyaya buddhamanogyaya pushkarik shana vidikarir ima Viramuryatir Adarasinuyap Yaya Yasvana Tavakatamritam Tapda Jivanang Kavibir Iditang Kalmashapahang Shravana Mangalam Srimad Atatang Bhuvi Greenanti Ye Buri Dajana Prahasitang Priya Prema Vikshanang Vihanang Cha Tate Dhyana Mangalam Rahasi Sangvido Yaridas Prisha Kuhakano Manak Shobayantihi Chalasiyad Vrajach Charayan Pashun Nalana Sundarang Natate Padam Shila Trinankurai Sidatitina Kalititang mana Kanta gachhati Dina parikshaye Nila kuntalayar Vanaruhananang Bibrad avritam Ghanarajas balang Darshayan mohur Manasina smarang Virayach hasi Pranatakamadang Padmajarchitang Dharani mandanang Dyayam apadi Charana pankajan Shantamang chate Ramanana stanesh Varpya padahan Surata Vardanang Shokanashanang Svarita Venuna Sushtu Chumbitam Itara Ragavis Maranang Nrinang Vitara Viranas Te Dharamritam Atati Yad Bhavan Annikananang Truti Yugayate Tvam Apasyatam Kutila Kuntalang Srimukang Chate Jada Udikshatang Pakshmakrid Drisham Patistutan Vaya Bratri Bandavan Ativilingyate Tyachutaga Gati Vidastavod Gita Mohita Kitavayoshita Kastya Jen Nishi Rahasi Sangvidang Krichayodayang Prahasitanunang Prema Vikshanam Brihad Ura Sriro Vikshadamate Muhurati Spriya Muhyate Mana Vrajavanau Kasang Vyaktir Angate Vrijnahang Trilang Vishma Mangalam Twajamanak Chanas Twatsprihat Manang Swajanahrid Rujang Yan Nishuddhanam Yetu Sajata Charanam Buruhang Staneshu Bita Shanai Priyadadhi Mahi Karkasheshu Tenata Vimati Sitad Vyatate no Kingsfit Kupad Dibir Brahmati Deer Bavad Ayushangna. We will close this program by singing the prayers to Lord Nisringa so that all of you are protected because the COVID-19 is spreading and increasing. And I don't want any of my Namahat family to come even close, even a wisp of COVID-19. So I sing these Damodara-leela prayers for your protection. And after this, I will personally bless each and every one of you, especially some new people who joined us for the first time. Namaste Narasimhaya Praklada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashipurvaksha Shilatanka Nakalaye Ito Nusringa Parato Nusringa Yato Yato Yamitato Nusringa Bahi Nusringa Hridaye Nusringa Nusringham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Nusringham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Nusringham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Tat